where we uncover the truth one headline at a time. And now your hosts, Josh Hammerling and Max McGuire.
Welcome back. Another edition of the Right Guys podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
Josh Hammerling here on, I don't know what day of the week it is, man. Everything this
It's
week
Monday.
has been so crazy. It's been so crazy.
It's Monday.
Like,
you do anything for St. Patty's Day?
Oh yeah, we made some corned beef, cabbage, and had some ham. Like, I'm not a big fan of it though. I only eat a little bit. Like, I eat it because it's the holiday thing.
Yeah.
But my wife just loves it, man. She loves it.
It's not traditional Irish food, but what's interesting is the brisket, which is what corned beef is, has like from that time period, it was the cheapest food that was available.
Really?
Because it was the toughest cut of meat.
Yeah.
So the Irish in New York City, Boston, along the East Coast, they gravitated to it because the butchers were basically throwing it away. It was like, oh, this is too tough. So the Irish would boil it until it was falling apart, right?
Yeah.
The Jews would smoke it, pastrami.
Yeah.
That's where they got pastrami. Here in Texas, you smoke it. That's how you get Texas barbecue brisket. So brisket's been like the lower class. It's become much more expensive now.
Yeah.
But it's historically been that lower class food, which is why it's the Irish celebration. Not because it's from Ireland, but that was what everyone gathered and ate once they got here. It was the only thing they could afford. I told you before we started, I think I cracked the code.
Yeah.
Instead of cooking it, I went to Restaurant Depot and I bought a 5-pound block of corned beef that you use for like a deli. And then I bought a meat slicer. So I've just been slicing corned beef. Yep. $4.70 a pound. For my grocery store wanted $13.99 a pound, and they said that was on sale. Wow. And then I got Swiss cheese for $3.30 a pound.
Big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It sounds good, man. When you started mentioning before, I was like, I haven't eaten lunch where I'm at yet. And I was like, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty good.
So I think I cracked the code.
That's pretty cool, man. I like potatoes too. Like, the Irish were very big on their potatoes until the famine forced them essentially to the U.S. for the most part, right? I mean, whole generations of people. So
even to this day, the Irish government spends a ton of money to make sure that there isn't another famine.
Yeah, I mean, it destroyed their population. It took like 100 years before it came back almost. I mean,
even though they're not as reliant. Right? Even though they're not as reliant on domestically grown food, because obviously in the world economy, you can import food. It's like, it's a huge like pain point, like in their genome. That like, oh, you mentioned famine, people start shaking. Well, we have, Speaking of crisis, we've had a crisis here in the United States, which I don't know if you watched over the weekend. Donald Trump apparently threatened everyone was going to die unless he won the presidency. Threatening to kill everyone. Everyone's going to die. Everyone's going to die unless there's going to be a bloodbath. Bloodbath.
Yeah.
I want to play the cut. By the way, this is the Biden headquarters cut. Trump did a whole speech, stream of consciousness. Just so we're clear, Biden's headquarters put out 7 seconds. Let's listen to it.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
So I know you paid attention to this.
I know,
but
I saw it.
When I saw this headline across Twitter, it was Saturday. I already started drinking because you can't get drunk. You can't get drunk on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
You got to celebrate St. Patrick's Day on Saturday, which still trying to polish off some of my leftovers. I saw this.
Yeah.
I saw this and I couldn't. I was like a couple beers in, and my first reaction was, "Oh, damn it! What did he say this time?" I mean? Like I've drank 3 beers. I don't want to have to deal with this. What did he say this time? And I just I set aside. I said, "Oh, bullshit. I bet you it's bullshit." Turns out it was bullshit.
Total bullshit.
Donald Trump didn't threaten to kill everyone. Donald Trump very clearly said that if Biden's elected, his policies regulating the auto industry would lead to a bloodbath. That conveniently left out.
Yes, of the whole soundbite, right?
Campaign, from the media. Here's the full soundbite.
Has taken over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country. Think of it. Went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. No, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's
very clearly. Wow. Very clearly, he's talking about auto tariffs and like the risk of cheap Chinese automobiles flooding the country and putting American auto workers out of work. The entire context is automobile policy.
Yes, because he's talking to him.
Yeah.
He's talking to a couple people in the auto industry.
Yeah. And yet the left cuts all of that out and just goes with the part where if I'm not elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be a bloodbath.
It will be. But man, look how they latched onto that. You know, they find the one headline that they love, the one soundbite they can throw out there and scare you on a Saturday, right? The same media that you know, everything's usually quiet on Saturdays, but that one hits, and then boom, it's all over the feeds. He's going to kill everybody, right? Like that's what they want you to think. I'm going to kill everybody. It's unreal.
Definition: Merriam-Webster's dictionary. A bloodbath, noun, a great slaughter, a notably fierce, violent, or destructive contest or struggle, or a major economic disaster. So it's not even like Trump was taking liberties with wordplay. He was just using a real word to describe an economic calamity if this trade policy is allowed to stay in effect.
So where were the fact checkers on this one? I mean, clearly somebody at one of these institutions would have said, you know what, this is what fact checking is for, and this is what he meant, right? I didn't see a single one. Did you?
On Twitter, I did.
Did you?
Because,
okay, on Twitter, I did there, but go to Facebook, go to anyone that like Insta when some of those people are talking about it. I mean, it was.
Well, they work. They don't work over the weekend, right? Yeah. So that's the thing. If you were waiting for the fact checkers to come in, they're not gonna work overtime to debunk something that hurts Trump. No, maybe they'll get to it midday Monday, right?
Maybe on Tuesday,
but they'll let it do the damage. Whereas on Twitter, users are able to fact check in real time, vote on it. There's a process for it, and sure enough, the bloodbath thing got hit with a fact check almost immediately on Twitter.
Yeah, the community notes, right? This is out of context, right? I mean, this is total politicking. Beautiful politicking, though, on the liberal side, right? I mean, the whole machine was behind that one. Oh, it's almost like a fascist government was in charge of it and was just putting that out there to get the news out, right? It's brilliant.
I've got some of those clips. Well, I want to play this one. This is where CNN dragged Nancy Pelosi out of her crypt to comment on the bloodbath. Here we go.
Even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath? There's something wrong here. How respectful I am of the American people and their goodness. But how much more do they have to see from him to understand that this isn't what our country is about?
She's just completely wrong.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Let's play it again. She says it in the form of a question. So it's quite possible she doesn't know, and she's just trusting CNN that the clip's accurate. Let's listen.
He's even predicting a bloodbath. What does that mean? He's going to exact a bloodbath?
That's a question.
What does that mean?
Statement, right?
He's gonna. So the inflection. She's asking a question,
Yeah.
but we know better. She's part of the machine, right? Nancy Pelosi is part of the machine. I'm gonna try and see if I can find a clip of her talking about the hoax and the smears, how they work.
I was waiting for like a cuckoo to come out of her forehead when she was talking, man, because that's just bad shit crazy. Like that's just some nuttiness. But she's hook, line, and sinker with the whole fascist government. I think it's time we start pointing out that the Dems are the fascist government here. You can see this happening in real time. In real time. It's crazy. It's just wild, man. I just don't understand. I'm sorry. I was reading some of the community notes. And it sounds like I don't know. You always know when you're popular when the weirdos show up.
Oh, for sure. I'll see if I can find the clip before.
Yeah.
But Nancy Pelosi there was a clip floating around on Twitter about how she said, this is how the smears work. We say this, they say that. And before they know it, here's MSNBC, their take on it.
Heard was a continuation of the same rhetoric, the same endorsement of political violence that we've seen from Donald Trump for years, as you.
So that was this is Michael Tyler, who is a Biden-Harris communications director, saying there'll be a bloodbath in the American auto industry is a call to violence. This is insanity.
I'm waiting for him to get charges now for calling for this is a whole new call to violence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what state is he going to be brought up on treason charges, right?
Yeah.
He's an insurrectionist again because of this one statement? Is it going to happen?
Yeah. So, Morning Joe Scarborough, he had a tweet that got put out, and I think that Elon Musk called him out. People were calling him out saying it's fake. You're fake news. He didn't say, he deleted it. He deleted the tweet about the hoax, the bloodbath hoax. But then he went on television this morning and doubled down. So first he deletes it, almost admitting that he was wrong. I guess he had a change of heart. Now he's doubling down.
Talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it. And these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on cable news, these idiots on Sunday shows going, well, presidents, he was talking only about the auto industry, and this is one more. It's just bullshit. Let me say that at 6:15 a.m. It's just bullshit. He knew what he was doing.
Okay.
We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about a bloodbath.
Oh my
God. He was talking about pause. He has to think of a bloodbath. Now it's like, okay, they're trying to say it's a dog whistle. That saying there'll be a bloodbath in the American auto industry is actually a dog whistle for all of his fascist supporters to all of a sudden say, oh, it's time to kill everyone.
Right. Like the religious right is about to come out and start killing everybody, right? I mean, just pin it on the group too, right? So once they create the problem, let's throw it in a dartboard, see who's the bad guy on this one is. It's conservative Christians, and they'll be part of the bloodbath. And next week, Donald J. Trump will say he wants to kill everybody somehow, right? Or the lie will continue.
Here's the fun part, though. Donald Trump doesn't hold a monopoly on using that word.
No.
Liberals, Democrats, in media use it all the time. I didn't make this supercut. It's been floating around, but here is a supercut of those same talking heads using the word bloodbath.
Politico.com reports tonight on the, quote, bloodbath at the RNC.
Headlines calling it a, quote, bloodbath.
Be a bloodbath. Not only is it going to be a bloodbath, but after they leave New Hampshire, it's a bloodbath on her home turf. That's really tough. He's left a lot of corpses in his wake. I mean, we can count the bodies as part of the, quote, MAGA drive to take over Maricopa County. And the headline refers to it as an impending bloodbath.
Columnist Charles Blow has a new piece for the New York Times entitled A Biden Bloodbath.
2018 midterms, you can bet that they 100% are fearing a slaughter. In fact, the word bloodbath and massacre come up frequently.
The Republican Party will be destroyed. It's going to be a bloodbath.
There's going to be a bloodbath one way or the other.
Bloodbath for Bernie Sanders.
It's been a bloodbath. They're shaping up to be a bloodbath.
Head off a bloodbath in next year's crucial midterm.
Off-year elections are often a bloodbath.
This week's bloodbath for Democrats.
This isn't even half done. It keeps going. Let's play it all for dramatic effect.
Democrats, a bloodbath at the ballot box.
There could be a Republican bloodbath.
They'll talk about a bloodbath.
It's a bloodbath. I have to talk about you. And
It's going to be a bloodbath all day long. Is in for a bloodbath.
Hasn't been a bloodbath on the way down. Donald Trump bloodbath. Be a bloodbath.
predicted to be a bloodbath.
May not be the bloodbath.
It would be a bloodbath.
More of a bloodbath.
It's going to be a bloodbath in November.
Possible Biden bloodbath this November.
A bloodbath on Wall Street.
There's going to be a bloodbath.
In Alabama, into a bloodbath.
Obviously, there was a bloodbath. It was a bloodbath. We're down 800 points.
This bloodbath at Department of Homeland Security.
And it's a bloodbath today.
There was going to be this bloodbath.
Election
It just keeps
bloodbath.
going.
It could be a bloodbath for them.
Bloodbath, possibly. Bloodbath that went through with the Attorney General.
Bloodbath 99 days out.
The bloodbath is going to look like
Presided over a bloodbath in the diplomatic corps.
Absolute, in my opinion, bloodbath. The Democrats
We're calling it a ticket sales turned into a bloodbath. Ticket sales for singer Taylor Swift's latest tour.
Bloodbath.
It's safe to say the fans
It's
had
It's
a
safe to
bloodbath.
bravo
It's a
to who
Taylor
made that.
Swift.
Bravo.
Yeah, Grabian. It's a bloodbath. It's a Taylor Swift bloodbath. It's a Taylor Swift bloodbath.
It's used in normal language, in
Yes.
news, in media. It's been used to talk about the stock market crash that caused the Great Depression, right? That was a bloodbath. It was used in history books, and then Donald Trump says that it means as a dog whistle, he's going to kill everybody out there that goes against him, and he's going to get a group involved. Like what? Which group is that dog whistling for? The same ones that peacefully walked through the Capitol without any weapons. Oh. What is this?
This is funny. This is funny from Rumble. Shandy Pants. President Trump, how golfing go? Trump says, pretty well. I shot an eagle. Mainstream media headline. Donald Trump, amidst a hated country, has taken to hunting eagles, the very symbol of our democracy. Yeah, that's how it would go.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly how it would go. Shot an eagle. Why does Donald Trump shoot bald eagles for fun? That's how it would go. That's exactly
Donald
how
Trump
it would go.
says that Barron Trump is killing it. He's
Yeah,
killing
yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah. Trump admits on his murder.
Right.
Do you know who Joe Walsh is? Former congressman from Illinois, Republican. Trump derangement syndrome broke him. He became an independent in 2020. Tried to run against Trump in 2020. He is by far one of the worst of the worst. And this was put up by Defiant L's, which is one of the greatest Twitter handles ever. It's just posting L's, posting loser takes all over the place. Here is him on Twitter respond to someone saying it's just about the auto industry. He says, nope, respectfully, I'm not lying. The definition of the word bloodbath, an extremely violent event in which a large number of people are killed. He used the word bloodbath on purpose. He used the word bloodbath to incite violence. Have a nice Sunday. The problem is, Joe Walsh himself uses bloodbath a lot. Here he is in 2019. Another one says, adios. Republicans are dropping like flies. Why? Because Republicans all know that with Trump at the top of the ticket, 2020 will be a bloodbath for Republicans. There. Yeah, so is he saying he's going to kill Republicans?
Yeah.
This is stupid. This is stupid. He's stupid.
Yeah.
But it goes beyond that. They think you're stupid. They think you're too stupid to see through this, that you'll be like I was a few drinks in on St. Patrick's Day, saying like, I'll get to this later. Oh, what'd he say? Oh, geez, what do I have to go defend now? They're hoping, they're hoping that you are going to be too busy or too uninterested, disinterested to actually do the hard work to read the transcript, to watch a video clip longer than 7 seconds. 7 seconds long. Anything more, they're expecting you won't read it, won't watch it.
And it won't be usable. How many people are out on lunch on Saturday? They're sitting with their friends, and the headline comes through, and all they see is Donald Trump says something's going to be a bloodbath, right?
Yeah.
And then
Donald
they start talking right around the table.
Bloodbath.
Right.
Threatens bloodbath.
That's the effect this stuff has, right? Because people will only talk about the headline because they don't care. They will just watch those 7 seconds, and they will discuss it when they're drunk, and they won't go back to it, right? No one's going to sit there on a Saturday when they're trying to have a good day.
Yeah.
And they're going to talk about it with their friends and family, maybe even at the baseball games, the soccer games when they start, right? I mean, that's the point of it. attack him on every front.
Yeah,
it's laughable, but man, it's dirty. Like, this is dirty politics. This is a dirty fascist government that's running these headlines.
Oh, it totally is. Totally is.
It's just, it's repugnant. I don't know what else to say. We should be like angry in the streets over it, but here we are talking about it. People aren't getting upset about it as much as they should.
I found the Nancy Pelosi clip.
Oh,
I'm not ignoring you. I was just frantically trying to pull this.
I know. I saw your search face. I was just trying to fill the time.
Yeah, it's my search face.
So yeah, you got a search face, but
this is Nancy Pelosi admitting to what we all already know.
She's a robot.
Of how the smears work.
Versionary tactic. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and if they see it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic.
Sell it to everybody.
And it's self-evident. And
so that is exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Now that's an old clip. That's an old Nancy Pelosi clip. But the Biden headquarters released a campaign ad as it's being debunked. After it's been debunked, they still released a campaign ad. I'm not going to play it, but I'll show you that it happened. They still
and it references the bloodbath.
Yes, they're going nonstop about the bloodbath.
Incredible turnaround time.
Many MAGA Republicans are saying Trump's bloodbath comment should be put in context. So then they have all about white supremacists.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath,
and they still only use the same 7 seconds. They're going heavy. Where's the one? Where's the other one? Trump.
You know what really bugged me about it is Pelosi saying that this is a tactic, but in order for the tactic to work, you would have to have friends in the media who would go along with it, right? Because it's obviously not the truth.
Yeah.
It would be.
Oh no, you absolutely do. You absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like the whole machine has to be on your side for this to work.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I'm gonna see if I can.
Like that alone should terrify all of us.
I'm gonna see if I
Media
can.
lining up the stage.
Okay,
Sorry,
so you see this on the screen?
Yeah.
They criticize him. Donald Trump doubles down on promising a bloodbath if he loses. Sends email fundraising off of it. It says Trump bloodbath, right? They are deliberately. I don't know if I can share. Let me see if let me screenshot it.
Wow.
Because I don't want to show my own inbox.
Yeah.
He did send out a fundraising email today, but it wasn't him doubling down, threatening a bloodbath. It was him calling out the media for crazily accusing him of that. So let me go ahead and real quick stop sharing screen, present.
Oh my gosh!
Sorry, lots of moving parts.
It's kind of disturbing. I mean, it's not disturbing.
Here was the email. They paid to have it sent out by a bunch of different people. It says, at a rally on Saturday, I predicted a bloodbath for our auto industry if crooked Joe Biden were to win in November. Then immediately the liars and the fake news and Democrat Party pushed their biggest hoax of the election. They used edited clips to viciously misquote me. They said that you were a dangerous threat to our country. They even had Nancy Pelosi push the hoax live on CNN. She lied directly to the American people. The fake news and their allies in the Democrat Party truly hate our country. They will push more hoaxes, fake headlines, and outright lies to keep control. Now that was basically, it's a fundraising email. So he is fundraising it, but he's not doubling down on promising a bloodbath. That's just not true. That's factually false. And they think you're too dumb to look it up. Like they showed you President Trump, they're showing you President Trump bloodbath 1040. They deliberately crop this to not include the little blurb that happens at the start of it.
Yeah.
I'll read you the blurb that comes through.
Effective
The
editing.
blurb that comes through is another hoax. That's the start of the blurb.
Yeah.
So they're just lying. None of this is true. This is a complete and total hoax. And even after they're called out on it, they double down and keep pushing it because they're confident that they'll get away with it. You repeat a lie long enough, frequently enough. Like, there are still people who think that Donald Trump said all Hispanics were rapists and murderers.
Yeah.
There are still people who think that.
It has worked, Max. I mean, the moment you put it out, somebody has to address it, right? And people are going to consume it. Like, the lie is out there. I forgot who it was. I think it was like Lyndon B. Johnson. He wanted to call one of his opponents a pig effer. And they're like, you can't do that. And he goes, I know. I just want him to have to defend that, right? I mean, it's super dirty politics. It doesn't matter what the truth is. I just got to come up with a headline, right? I just got to get something out there so I can start fundraising, right? How long before that's used in a fundraising clip? 2 months from now, it's going to come back, right? If he says bloodbath again, no, I mean, they're just going to ramp it up. And maybe they're trying to control the kind of rhetoric he's using, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you keep demonizing every word you say, you start being selective about what you do say in public, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a form of censorship in a way. And no matter what comes out of his mouth, they're going to throw him under the bus for it. He could say, I love everyone. He loves killing everyone, right? That becomes that.
Yeah. There was another line, I don't have it queued up, but from the speech where he accused the violent rapists and murderers and criminals who are coming across the border as illegal aliens. He said they're not real. They're not people. They're monsters.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
The left ran with that and said Donald Trump thinks immigrants aren't people.
Mm-hmm.
You see, crazy.
It's
crazy.
And it's got to be working because they're still doing it.
They did this when Trump was in office. He said MS-13 are animals. They're animals.
Yeah,
Nancy
I remember
Pelosi
that,
came out with crocodile tears saying, how could he use that dehumanizing language on our migrants when he's very clearly talking about the worst of the worst gang members? I mean, Donald Trump has married immigrants. Obviously, he doesn't think immigrants are subhuman.
Right.
He has a child with an immigrant. Like, come on.
But they'll do anything. And there's two things this shows here. They either think this strategy is going to win or they're so desperate and their numbers are showing they're so far behind. They have to pull out all the stops, right? I mean, this is the election to pull out all the stops. You got a guy that is virtually unelectable who is running the country into the ground, right? I mean, they're going to pull. This has to be the every dirty trick play book, right? This is the bag of tricks that you've got to pull out to win. Because they know they can't win. And it's not like they put somebody else in there because they know he's most likely going to lose. I still say he wins or Biden wins, but they know it's on the way down. You got to pull out the things you know. I mean, you got to get
and just to be
low.
clear for everyone listening, lots of new viewers, new listeners, Josh doesn't want Joe Biden to win.
I do not.
He just doesn't think that you can beat the fraud, the cheating, the stealing, all of that. I still believe you can, one, dismantle that, and two, overwhelm it with sheer numbers as happened in 2016. Everything that was in place to try and steal 2020, in my opinion, was in place in 2016. They just didn't expect so many people to vote for Trump, which is why he was able to sneak by. So me and Josh both want Trump to win.
Yes. Josh
is a little less optimistic than me that it will happen.
No, they've got a dirty machine that we haven't gotten rid of. Nobody did anything
Also, Josh is in Colorado where they have universal mail-in voting, where it is a red state turned purple state turned bright blue state now.
Yeah, it's
so there's a lot of reasons for Josh to be a little bit down.
Yeah, I have no doubt Colorado will go for Biden. It's just going to happen.
Yeah,
like man, it just didn't go away. The entire industry that they put in place, and you don't have to win it. In a lot of places, you only have to win it in a key few to get a state. And we saw that. They're hand-picking the ones they went after.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the bottom line. And the last election, it was like the most people turned out ever. but yet they still had enough votes to get it done. You saw that 2 a.m. spike, right? I mean, it just doesn't matter. Even if we come out in numbers like you're saying, this will be people are going to be pissed off at midnight on election night when they see.
I have no
doubt.
I have no doubt.
We all know we want Trump to win, but it's going to be a bloodbath, Max.
It'll be a bloodbath. No, I don't. If it happens again, if at 3 a.m. Fulton County, Georgia announces we're pausing the vote because a urinal leaked a little bit and offended our delicate sensitivities. Oh, by the way, all poll watchers go home. All reporters go home. We're just going to go home ourselves. And then they don't. I don't think there's going to be a benefit of the doubt given.
Yeah.
And
people are going to lose their shit on this one.
People, if it happens again, people are going to lose their shit.
Yeah. Like things are going to go south.
It's up to all of us to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I've been a long proponent of encouraging everyone to donate, volunteer their time as poll watchers. Don't donate to the RNC. I mean, if you're going to donate, but if you expect to get election integrity out of the RNC, don't hold your breath.
Yeah.
But you can volunteer as a poll watcher, as a poll monitor.
Good.
If you happen to have a law degree, you are incredibly valuable. There are tons of organizations, conservative organizations, who will help facilitate you going to some of the most corrupt polling places where there are going to need to be prompt challenges filed. So if you have a law degree, you are invaluable on election day. And so definitely contact. I'll see if for the next episode I can pull together some organizations. But there are a ton that work in this field, the conservative field, to make sure that this won't happen again.
Wish we were in advocacy again, man. Like,
it's
so important. Everybody needs to be an advocate, right?
Are they still doing that? I haven't even checked.
I don't know. I'm not even worried. But people need to get out there. You need to start fighting like they're fighting. They've been kicking your ass now since the 1960s. How does that make you feel? Right? Yeah. The entire leftist liberal movement is kicking your ass, and you've been taking it. So what are you going to do? You going to sit there and keep getting punched in the mouth, or are you going to start fighting back? And that's up to you. And I'm not calling for violence. There's ways to start fighting back. You get lawyers out there. You get your people ready. You start challenging things. You use the law the same way they do, right? That's how you start doing it. And we all know if it does end up going bad from there, well, you're a free man and free woman living in a free country. Keep it free.
They are still doing the advocacy. I don't know who's doing it. They're not signing off on it anymore. It's just
pretty
the
weird.
CD News team. They have some good ones up there.
Do they? Well, God bless them. But
the free Julian Assange is kind of out of nowhere. But hey, I don't. He's not on U.S. soil, is he?
No, I thought he was actually arrested, wasn't he, a while back? Once he left finally had to leave the. Was it the Peruvian consulate, whatever, in England there when he was?
Yeah, no, he's in.
I haven't heard from him in a while, right?
Is he? I don't think he's here yet. But
what if they disappeared?
I'm reading this. Maybe I'll send over some notes. But
it's okay.
Telling Congress to drop charges against someone is a strange ask, but who knows?
It's advocacy. You can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. You're asking them to do something they physically can't do.
Right.
It's like it's not separate equal powers. You know, what I mean, it's
that'd be
whatever. They'll figure it out. Yeah. It's just been a couple of years. They'll figure it out, I guess.
It's just the setup though is to try to get him to look bad. And what month are we in? We're already in March, right? We haven't even seen an October surprise. There's got to be a surprise every month moving forward, right?
Yeah.
That's going to have to happen. And the October one's got to be like the meatiest one they have, right? Or at least the most powerful. They might even have like a week before the election made up surprise too, like video of him from way back in the day doing something awful again, just trying to sway that opinion. I mean, there's teams of it. Look how fast they had that video up, ready to go as soon as he said bloodbath.
I know.
They've got people on point to just crank that crap out, man. It's amazing.
So, I don't know if there will ever be a traditional, again, October surprise, because I don't think the big tech companies will allow it. I mean, look at what they did with Hunter Biden's laptop.
Interesting.
This was just out today. Share my screen. An investigation by MRC found that Google has interfered 41 times in elections since 2008, including with its new woke AI tool Gemini, which won't answer negative questions about Joe Biden. 41 times that they interfered to help Democrats instead of helping Republicans. And there's some very obvious instances of this where conservative websites were like Breitbart, where Breitbart was consistently trending and getting search results when you would search Joe Biden on Google. But all of a sudden, one day, they just turned it off. And I'll see if I can find the Breitbart link, because they include the graph.
They always say, well, that was the algorithm doing it. And it's like, you guys are in control of every aspect of that AI all the time. You just, the code has to be already there for them to move that quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anybody who knows about writing code, unless you have an AI doing it for you, it takes a long time.
And someone has to write it. Someone has to write it. And even AI, someone has to teach the AI.
Yeah.
So it's not just like a hands off, oh, it's not us.
Right. I mean, they've got to be, they would have to be ahead of some of these smears, right? Or at least an entire industry that's just trying to do that. It has to be in place already.
Here's the Google search results for Breitbart News traffic on Joe Biden as a keyword.
I remember that.
It disappeared right here. Now, that's not an algorithm change. That's someone on the back end saying, I don't want people searching for Joe Biden to see Breitbart articles about him. Right?
And look at how it's trending, man. It was trending well, and then boom, it bombs.
Remember, they mentioned here that they shut down Tulsi Gabbard's ad account, I think in the middle of like a debate.
Yeah, they
shut it down. They made it impossible. Here we go. Potentially damaging autofill results for Hillary Clinton were excluded, but not for Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders.
What? Autofill even? Dude, that stuff is so sneaky. It's like snakes in the grass there. And imagine having the ability to just put in a keyword and get rid of it.
Like you type in Hillary Clinton and it autofills is a criminal. Like, ooh, that's interesting. I want to learn about that. Nope, can't get any of that. Right. But you could search Donald Trump is an adulterer. Donald Trump is like evil. You know what I mean? They were autofilling these things that subconsciously make you think. And it kind of comes to a head with this last hoax I wanted to briefly talk about. I covered it alone when you were out doing your training. But the tragic death of Next Benedict, this gender questioning girl in Oklahoma. They made this out to be that she was beaten to death in a bathroom because of her gender identity. We have, like, here was the New York Times headline. They put it behind a paywall now. Anti-trans policies draw scrutiny after a 16-year-old's death in Oklahoma. Died a day after an altercation in a school bathroom. The U.S. Department of Education is investigating Oklahoma School District after the death of non-binary teen Next Benedict. The way that the story went was that she was minding her own business in a bathroom when out of nowhere, these girls attacked her. She valiantly defended herself. This is the narrative. And had her head bashed against the ground. And the school refused to help her. She went to the hospital on her own and died the next day. Well, we now know that is a lie. We now know that the autopsy has ruled tragically her death was a suicide.
Oh my.
Mixing medications together. I think it was a medication that was prescribed for some kind of mental disorder mixed with antihistamines proved to be a toxic combination.
Oh God, really? That's no.
But it sounds like she took enough of them to make them think that it was suicide and not an accidental mixture.
That poor kid.
Tragedy. Absolute tragedy. Any loss of life is terrible. But what happened in between, like we look at what happened on Twitter with this bloodbath, we, the conservatives, were able to rightly combat it instantly, right? Saying, this is fake, this is false, here's the real clip. With this, it took weeks to get this autopsy.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we got nonstop demonization from the left. The left blaming conservatives for killing this girl. They blamed her for killing this girl. Haya Raychik, she runs Libs of TikTok, and a great account. I've been following her since when she was in like 10,000, 20,000 followers. Really funny stuff. And all she does is say, hey, look what the left is doing here. Hey, look what liberals are doing here. Lets you watch them in their own words. She was accused of killing this girl because her anti-trans rhetoric compelled the bullies in the bathroom to murder her by bashing her head on the floor. That is the narrative that has existed for 2 weeks and that leftists continue to argue is real, even after the autopsy has said that didn't happen.
It's the smear campaign. There's so much to unpack there because it's the same weapons, right? You take a tragedy, you wrap it up in wrapping that makes your political opponent look bad, and then you use it in the media over and over and over. And even if the truth comes out, it doesn't matter. You just stick with the narrative, or you make it just disappear.
And then you point like, oh no, what I'm telling you is the truth because look, they reported it. It. I call it circular. It's circular sourcing. Right?
Yeah. Ooh.
It's like I say something, the media reports that I said it, and I say, oh look, what I said must be true because they reported on it.
Yeah.
But it's all just citing itself. Round and round they go.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had a chance to watch the episode when you were gone, but I want to play a little bit of that clip because
see, I told you so.
This is from TikToker, Under the Desk News. Now they get their name by delivering news under a desk, pretending to be like one of the Capitol Hill staffers who had to hide under their desk during January 6th. That's where the name comes from. I know. Ridiculous, right? Right there, ridiculous. Just full transparency, Under the Desk News is signed with a management company that has signed a deal with the Biden White House and the DNC. And after signing that influencer deal, I believe, Under the Desk News started getting invites to the White House and covering the White House. So remember we talked about how they are promoting influencers, political campaigns promote influencers to push their narrative, but then they kind of create these monsters.
Yeah.
Right?
It tries to make them legitimate.
Yeah. Yes. This is how Under the Desk News covered.
I'll see it.
Wait, here we go.
Is this going to make me irate?
Oh, hold on. I have to delete. I have to delete a video. I have too many. That's what happens when you come too prepared.
I know, and he's always got the stuff. But I have this feeling this is going to make me angry.
Right Republican rhetoric contributed to the beating
oh my
death
God,
of
these
a
guys.
16-year-old.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Here we go.
Far-right Republican rhetoric contributed to the beating death of a 16-year-old student in Oklahoma. Just a few weeks ago, Ryan Waters, the superintendent of schools in Oklahoma.
Just to pause it. Far-right rhetoric contributed to the beating death of a transgender student in Oklahoma. Everything in that statement is false
and inflammatory.
Yes, everything in that statement is false. There's nothing that is true.
Oklahoma added the creator of Libs of TikTok to the school library board, and it was too much even for the people of Oklahoma. There was no benefit to putting a woman from California who has no children in the Oklahoma school system on the school board when the entire ethos of her social media account is to attack, dehumanize, criticize, and dox queer people. And that hateful rhetoric and dehumanizing of queer people, coupled with the broad attacks on trans children, resulted in the death of a child.
Wow.
The dehumanization and doxing of queer people, which, by the way, I didn't know you're allowed to call them queer now. I thought that was like an N-word.
Can't call them queer. Okay.
I thought we weren't supposed to use that.
Okay.
Maybe you have to be in to use that word.
I don't even know what to. Yeah. Okay.
That the rhetoric resulted in the death of a child. The causality.
Right. Yeah.
Claiming the causation there is wild when this is just a few days after she was reported deceased.
This here is Next Benedict. They were a straight A student who lived with their grandma, loved to draw, and loved animals. And 3 older girls in the high school beat them to death on the floor of the girls' bathroom.
That's not true.
Didn't happen. It didn't
That's
happen.
just patently false.
Yep.
It's
Which,
fake
by
news.
the way, I'm not a grammar Nazi or anything like that. I'm not like a stickler for grammar, but a situation like this really infuriates me. Sorry, I have to put this comment up.
Yeah,
Wish.com, Rachel Maddow. Yes. We don't need Rachel Maddow. We have Rachel Maddow at home. This is that. It infuriates me when the they them pronouns, because you'll see this story of 3 people attacking one. When they use them, like 3 people beat them to death on the floor. You start saying, well, wait a minute. Them is for plural.
Plural. That's more than one.
It gets very confusing. You know what I mean? When you're using these pronouns, in a situation like this, you don't use pronouns. Like you wouldn't say she beat her to death when there's a room full of 4 girls. Well, who was it? Right? You use their name. They're using the pronouns because that's the right thing to do. So they actually use pronouns even when it makes it very confusing and hard to follow.
And it also becomes inflammatory because it's suggesting that more than one person might have died. Like anybody who does pay attention to that would mean more than one girl died. They beat them to death. That's all they hear from there, right? They don't bother to check.
Don't bother to check. Let's finish it up because it gets worse.
The attack was broken up by a teacher who did not call an ambulance, even though Next could not walk themselves to the nurse's office.
We know that is false. We know from the school district that Next Benedict walked herself under her own power to the nurse's office, was checked out, and they said, we don't think that these injuries are bad enough for an ambulance. But under the abundance of caution, we're going to call your guardian and we're going to encourage you, if you really want to, go to the hospital. But that's been described as they refused to let her go to the hospital, even though she had to be dragged to. It's crazy.
Not true, right? It's just so reckless.
None of this is true. We knew that none of this is true when this came out, but they still put it out. She still put it out. So I'm already doing
they put it out.
Yeah.
And did not call the police. Instead, they sent them home to their grandmother, who ended up taking them to the hospital where they succumbed to their injury.
Them or
like that makes it hard to understand. Like, did the grandmother take the attackers? You see, like the sticker for grammar gets really it's confusing. It's bad.
That's language, why we created him, her, she, they.
Language should make it easier to understand something, not harder.
Next identified as non-binary. They committed no crime. And if you're
listen, I don't like to speak ill of anyone who's dead, right? And I don't enjoy what I'm about to share. But the idea that Next Benedict committed no crime, as I covered on the show when I covered this at first, isn't accurate. It just isn't. So we know they've released video of her being interviewed by school officials and police officers. She didn't know her attackers at all, like personally at all.
Right, like it was an out of the blue attack.
Next was in the bathroom with some of her other girlfriends, and the girls who she got in a fight with started laughing at the way she was laughing. That's it. They weren't making fun of her for being trans or non-binary or any of that bullshit. They started laughing, and this is not my words. This is from Next Benedict video footage that they've since released. They were just making fun of her because of the way that they were laughing. She then proceeded, according to her own text messages, she texted a family member, I got jumped at school, 3-on-1, had to go to ER. Are you okay? All good, just scraps and bruises. Got a shot in the butt for my pain, but I'm still dizzy and nauseous in the morning. I might have a concussion. Why did they jump you? What did the school do about it? They had been bullying me and my friends, and I got tired of it. So I poured some water on them, and all 3 came after me. School did not report to police, so it's probably getting sued. Then they lost the girls, yada, yada, yada. Important thing is here, obviously, Next Benedict isn't here to give her side of the story, which is why we have to rely on text messages, which her family has released. These aren't doctored. These were released by her family. She admits to throwing water at someone. Now, under Oklahoma law, that technically qualifies as assault and battery. Now, we know that she wasn't murdered in that room, in that bathroom. If someone throws, you teach self-defense, it's all about proportionality, right? Yeah. If someone flicks you with their finger, you can't just shoot them in the head. Proportional responses, right? Like someone bumps into you in a crowded room, you can't then knock them out. It doesn't work like that. Proportional response. Yes. So I don't know whether her assault on them justified the beating that they then gave her. Right? But
she says she's all good.
Yeah, I do know that when someone starts a fight by throwing water on someone unprovoked in a malicious way, right? They then legally don't get to say, well, they came out of nowhere and they attacked me. I don't like talking about this because it's a tragedy that this girl died. But the way the left manipulated this narrative to present a story that isn't true. I don't know what those girls are like. I don't know if they could be the worst. I don't know.
Sure.
But I do know that they didn't just jump her out of nowhere. She instigated a physical altercation with them. And it sounds like she effed around and found out. Now, I don't want to, I hate saying that because obviously she passed away and it's tragic, right? But 1-on-3, you don't pick a fight with 1-on-3. You just don't. You just don't.
No, and if it was such a bad beating down, why did she say she's all good, just scrapes and bruises? Probably most people don't know how to fight. They just don't. Most people have never been in a fight. If you haven't learned how to fight, you probably don't know how to fight. Very few people are like naturals at fighting or self-defense or any of that stuff, right? So if you ever seen like 3rd and 5th grade fights, it's the slap fights, right?
Yeah.
And that's
girls pulling hair.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's classic. Girls do that all the time.
Slapping, scratching, yeah.
And maybe she did hit her head, which can be terrible, right? But it sounds like there had been bullying there before, right? It sounds like there's a history of all kinds of things going on there. I don't know the stories, but she didn't die in the bathroom. She didn't have to go to the emergency room. It's just that they're changing the narrative, right? They're conflating. I hate it when they conflate, and the Dems are great at conflating. You take two things that are totally different and you try to make them mean the same thing, or you know what I mean? You're conflating the two.
Yeah,
they're conflating the narrative they want versus what actually happened, and they do it. It's effective, but they don't get called out for it. Right? They never get called out for it. The job of the media is to call out those things.
Yeah,
but it doesn't.
I'm not going to be able to put it on the screen, but if people want to watch it, they can. Ian Miles Chung has it at Still Gray. This is the body camera footage of her sitting in a hospital talking to the police officer, where she admits that she started the altercation, admits that she didn't know the people, that there wasn't like a long history of bullying.
Wow.
You can see she is not beaten to death.
No.
So I encourage, it's 21 minutes long. We can't play it here, and I don't have it all clipped up, but a lot of it's terrible that she took her life. Terrible, right?
Yeah.
But let's be absolutely clear. Based on what she told police officers, she would not be in the clear after the thing she admitted to. She would
most likely people would face some sort of misdemeanor charge. Everybody in the room would most likely be charged.
Everyone loses. It's one of those everyone loses situation.
And if it was so serious, 911 would have been called, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they all err on that side. They just do. And if it didn't, that would be a real breakdown by the school. But she's not on her deathbed here. It wasn't a bloodbath.
There's that word.
It wasn't a bloodbath.
Folks, that's called a callback. It wasn't.
I took it.
Yeah. It wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. And she's very clearly of sound mind. Not dead. That's the point. Remember what that Underdesk News Wish.com Rachel Maddow said, that the beating death, she is very clearly not beaten to death. Now, this footage, you can see the date, 2/7/2024. This should have been released weeks ago.
Yeah.
Now, I know that they have their reasons, right? They have their reasons for why they need to slow walk this stuff. But so much reputational damage of people who, like, Haya Raichik was almost deplatformed off of her credit card processor over this. And she did nothing wrong. Nothing wrong.
Haya Raichik, I'm calling my lawyer for defamation at this point. You know what I mean? I would be suing because it destroys her. Somebody lies about her and what she's done. I would sue the crap out of them because it's just not real. But it serves the monster, right? It serves the specter of the Democrat Party. It serves going after Donald Trump. It's the entire Democrat narrative wrapped up in a beautiful bow, and that's what they did with this one.
Yeah.
And they continue to do it. And it doesn't matter how egregious it sounds or how many lies that they spew, they'll stick with it. And again, who holds them accountable besides us, right? And some of the other people in media about this stuff. We're the only ones that do it.
I hate covering this stuff because, as I said, it's tragic that she lost her life. But they have turned her into not only a martyr, which I guess is their right to turn into a martyr, but for every martyr, there's someone who put them to the stake, right? And they have branded all conservatives, specifically any conservative who speaks out against the transgender movement, as being part of this. Remember, they say conservative rhetoric contributed to the beating death of this girl. And that we knew it then it was false, and we definitely know it now that it's false. And yet it was allowed to get legs and spread. Now, Josh, as we close, what do we do about this? Do we silence them? How do you combat a lie like this that has real repercussions?
Well, you have to start going to news sources that aren't part of the machine. You know, but then you've got to talk about it. You've got to go out and the only way to show lies for what they are is to expose them, right? And the truth will ring true. It just takes forever to get there, right? That's the biggest thing that I fight with is how do I tell people to fight this stuff back? How do we tell our audience how to change it, how to identify it, show it, and try to combat it? And we're going up against billion-dollar companies, billion-dollar machines, governments, right? State sponsored,
like $100 trillion governments.
Yeah. How do you fight that when the media is lining up with the party and is being run by the state? That is the definition of fascism, right?
Well, I'll tell you, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice, believes that the government should be allowed to silence bad information. And she lamented that an absolutist interpretation of the First Amendment would, quote, hamstring the government, end quote. No duh. The Bill of Rights literally exists to hamstring the government.
That's its purpose.
It's his purpose. You would think a Supreme Court justice would know that. Here is the audio.
Justice Jackson?
So my biggest concern is that your view has the First Amendment hamstringing the government in significant ways in the most important time periods. I mean, what would you have the government do? I've heard you say a couple times that the government can post its own speech, but in my hypothetical, kids, this is not safe, don't do it, is not going to get it done. And so I guess some might say that the government actually has a duty to take steps to protect the citizens of this country, and you seem to be suggesting that that duty cannot manifest itself in the government encouraging or even pressuring platforms to take down harmful information. So can you help?
What? Oh my goodness.
That's a Supreme Court justice lamenting at how the First Amendment could hamstring the government and prevent them from silencing Americans.
That's the purpose of it. That's why it was written. When you have one of the third branches of our government saying that the government is too hamstrung over someone else's speech, you really need to look at this person and say, do they belong here?
Yeah.
Do they belong here?
Do you think that she is this dumb? Or do you think she is so guided by her own partisanship, ends justify the means mentality, that she sets aside what she knows is wrong and advocates for it anyway because she likes the outcome that would cause?
Remember, intelligence isn't wisdom.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? She's smart.
That's true.
She's probably super smart.
She could probably
High
rattle off
IQ
100
individual.
citations supporting what she just said.
Absolutely. But wisdom, they're like, her wisdom score in D&D games is going to be like a 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like that, it doesn't mean just because you know, doesn't mean you should, right? It's like that old Jurassic Park question. Just because you could doesn't mean you should, right? Remember that in the movie? Just because you could do something doesn't mean you should do something. And if she doesn't see that here, I don't know what to say. Like
Ian Malcolm, the character.
Yeah, like this is something that's probably never been said by a Supreme Court justice before.
You know.
There might have been a few in like the early 1800s-ish, right? That's the only time I can think something like this might have happened. But I can't recall the time.
But not showing a clear disdain. The Bill of Rights exists to protect the people from the government. What she just said is that she wishes it didn't do that good of a job. Or she wishes there was a footnote, a little asterisk, that let the government still violate the people's rights if they think there's a good reason for it. That's precisely why the Bill of Rights exists.
Well,
so
she
this
is
terrifying.
government. She is government, right? She's part of the machine. She's talking about increasing her own power. She's legislating from the bench, which the Supreme Court cannot do.
People, show this. You know, conservatives who are on the fence about Trump, think about voting for Biden, show them this. Explain the ramifications of this, and explain how Trump wins. Likely 1 or 2 Supreme Court justices retire in his next term. You can't risk another one of these getting to the bench, because you could actually find yourself in a position where the majority of the court agrees that the First Amendment shouldn't exist because the government should just be able to do what it wants to do.
And they're the ones that will make it law. They'll put a beautiful little...
I like this one from Channy Pants. But what would a woman say to that? Unfortunately, can't ask KBJ. Yep, no, you can't. What is a woman beyond her pay grade? Well, that's it for this edition. Any final words, Josh?
Remember, gang, Democrats are great at conflating things. They try constantly to take one thing and make it look like another, and they do this so they can affect opinion. Right, so they can get a headline, so they can carry those headlines into full force all the way into election day. Show the conflation, show the difference, talk about it. Don't be scared to speak up when you hear a bunch of that crazy liberal bullshit start coming out. The time to be quiet is no longer. It is time to start getting out there and fighting the good fight.
Yes.
Speak it. Share this program with people so they can see the truth. But share the truth. God, I'm getting all fired up. It's pissing me off.
100%. 100%. Well, that's it for this edition of the podcast. If you like the podcast, subscribe, follow, links down right below this clip. Comment, give us a thumbs up if you can. We also put out an audio podcast, so you can tune in for that. A little easy if you want to listen on your drive to work. We try to make this as audio friendly as possible. That's it for this edition of the podcast. My name is Max McGuire.
I'm Josh Hammerling.
Remember, everyone, the fight to take back the country, very obviously not over yet, but the only way we win is if we all step and fight together. See you next time.
See ya.